the great thing about the Polish ecosystem is that I don't really know a Polish founder that is not possible to get access to and talk to. They want to learn.
It's good to be fired? Sometimes.
It's good. Oh, it's definitely good to be fired sometimes. I highly recommend that people don't stress about it, at least. Definitely don't stress because sometimes we get comfortable and the best opportunity is around the corner.
What's the Polish work ethic?
So for me, Polish work ethic is just working extremely hard, feeling both a gratitude for having a role.
Cześć! Welcome to Zaprojektuj swoje życie or Design Your Life podcast. And today's guest is Mick Griffin. And today's episode will be in English.
Sadly, yes. With a little bit of Polish maybe, but yes, we'll be in English for hopefully the good parts.
Żyjesz tu 15 lat, dlaczego nie mówisz po polsku?
Ja trochę mówić po polsku, albo nie na biznesowe. If I speak in Polish about business, I will struggle.
We'll do this in English. We'll do this in English.
It's going to be funny though, if it was in Polish, but it wouldn't be very valuable, I'm afraid.
So, Mike, how come you decided to move to Poland and work in a business and work in a SaaS companies and live in my hometowns, which is Traffit?
Yes, it's a good question, and I know the topic of the podcast is design your life, and I think the ironic thing is just until I probably crossed the border into Poland, there was really no design, but it worked in my benefit. So the answer that most English people or I've met here, English gentlemen, is that my partner at the time was Polish. We met in the UK. We lived in Manchester, 22, 23 years old. And after a year living in Manchester, I'd visited Poland a couple of times. My partner was studying law, and she was traveling to and from Gdańsk every couple of months by plane to do exams and stuff. And I wasn't really bought into what I was doing in England anyway. So one day I said, maybe we should try Poland instead. And
you said that?
I said it.
Okay.
I said it was my idea for various different reasons as well. Some of them maybe not so good, but fundamentally, I think within 2 months, my little Renault Megane was packed, and we were driving from Manchester to Poland, and here I am, 15 years later.
Okay, so if you're from Manchester, choosing three cities kind of sounds obvious, yeah? Sea.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is like I've obviously gone through what we're going to talk about today and so on, and a lot of the things happen by chance. My partner was from Gdynia.
Okay.
We came to Gdynia. We never really had the discussion at the time of maybe Warsaw, maybe Wrocław, maybe Krakow. We came to Gdynia. It worked and just kind of went with the flow, and ironically I came to Poland thinking I was going to be an English teacher. That was my plan.
That was your plan?
It was.
You end up working as an English teacher in technology businesses, or you just went into marketing and revenue development immediately?
No, I mean, again, like I get my story back from the UK is that I started off from 16 being a professional sportsman. I was a professional rugby player for 3 years. I kind of came through that, then was just jumping into sales jobs and customer service jobs. And we said, okay, we'll move to Poland. And I had the preconception at the time that no Polish company will hire someone that doesn't speak Polish. Coming from England as well, where that's such a stereotype the other way around.
You have to speak English.
Yes, and then that was true at the time there as well, or there was a big stereotype about it. So I had I still remember to this day making the printout, sticking them on lampposts around Gdynia and Dąbrowa where I was living. But I got a little bit lucky, and I'm going to probably say that a lot today, which was my partner was looking for a job from England before we left, and it was like Trójmiasto.pl job section, Pracuj.pl job section. And she says, like, Mick, I think I found a job for you. I was like, go on.
Oh, so she was looking for a job for herself and found a job for you?
Yes, and the reason why we were so attracted to it was because it was an English company hiring in Gdynia. So what I decided, and it was for a basic marketer role. They were doing Google Ads campaigns.
In English?
In English, yes. And I think they just literally had opened like a satellite branch in Poland. And so what I did is I called the English head office and I was like, hey, listen, I saw that you have a job in Gdynia. I'm still currently in Manchester. You're in Birmingham. Can I interview in England? And the guy said, yeah, sure, come down. We had an interview. He said, it sounds great. Like, okay, you can do it. We negotiate the salary even in England.
Which was a better way of negotiating salary?
I mean, at the time, in Poland, I think the salary was great for a starting salary, but not crazy money in England by any means. And I I came over, and I think on my third day of living in Poland, I went to the office in Gdynia on St. Anska Street, a converted apartment with 3 employees. And I walked in, I was like, hi, I'm Mick, and they'd never met me. They just heard that the recruitment had gone on in England. UK. And I started, and the story there is actually, I came over with a lot of bad English habits. I was still in this mold of, it's not a career, it's a job, I just need a salary, it's fine. I did some English teaching and I was terrible at it, terrible. So luckily, the English teacher idea was, I very quickly learned that speaking English and teaching English is 2 very different things. I have a lot of bad habits speaking English as well.
Heavy accent?
Yes, and I ended up doing these things that I'd never heard of before, which was conversation lessons. And people were paying me to talk to them. And I was like, this doesn't make any sense for them, but okay. And, you know, people speaking to me very fluently, like we're speaking today, but they were like, oh, I needed to practice, thank you so much. But for me, it wasn't my career path.
So you were experimenting?
I mean, experimenting makes it sound like I was doing it in a very structured way.
So you were A/B testing?
I was just picking a job that paid. And this was my history, like before I came to...
It was about money, yeah, and survival in a new country.
Yeah, you know, even from my time in England, I look back now and I wasn't on any kind of path. I was, and the longest I'd stayed in a job was probably about 14 months. It was like 14 months, someone's going to pay me £500 more, I'd change the job. I got bored, I'd change the job. It was very much this rat race approach to career.
So what happened? You said you brought a lot of bad habits coming into this 3-person room. You were the 4th person, 25% of the staff.
Yes.
So what happened?
So I think the first thing is I didn't have Polish work ethic.
What's the Polish work ethic?
So for me, Polish work ethic is just working extremely hard, feeling both a gratitude for having a role, having a job. And I don't be wrong, I think that this is...
And you don't have this in England?
I think we don't have it as much as in Poland. And I mean, what I mean by that is I think that the gratitude in Poland is too much, by the way. It's not that it's perfect. I think it's too much. It's a kind of a generational thing that you should be thankful you have a job. In England, we are certainly quite lazy.
We used to have 15-20% unemployment. Yeah?
No, I get where it comes from as well. But, you know, an easy story for that is I remember once when my wife was applying for a different job when we lived here, my partner now, and her mum said, you can't have an interview, you've got a job. What if your existing employer finds out? Because of this generational fear of don't end up unemployed. But so they had a work ethic, but I had some terrible habits. Like it was lunchtime at 1 o'clock, and at 1 o'clock I would walk down to the beach and I would sit in the bar and I would have a small beer and read a book. And then I look at it now after living here for 15 years, like I used to have a beer at lunchtime in the middle of the day. How insane is that? But in my...
I mean, it relaxes you, but that lowers your productivity.
I mean, it's terrible. I never recommend it to anybody. But in England, it was such... In like Manchester, which is kind of a working class city, working class town, it's so common. Even when I was training for some jobs and I would have my first 2 weeks on boarding, my trainer would be like, oh, it's 1 o'clock, let's go to the pub. It's like, so after, you know, I kind of snapped myself out of that and realized I'm not in Poland anymore. I'm not in England anymore. Like I started to learn a little bit how it works, and for like I said, a much bigger improvement. But the ironic thing is I got fired from that job.
You got fired?
I got fired.
Why?
Yeah. So the company downsized, and it was kind of a little bit of a last one in, first one out. I wasn't a great employee anyway. I really genuinely could look at it now. But what they basically did, they had a really big customer in the UK that was worth around 20% of their revenue. They lost a customer and they just kind of laid staff off one by one. And
you were on the list?
And I was, one of the first ones on the list. And again, it turned out to be an extremely lucky scenario for my career.
It's good to be fired? Sometimes.
It's good. Oh, it's definitely good to be fired sometimes. I highly recommend like that people don't stress about it, at least. Definitely don't stress because sometimes we get comfortable and the best opportunity is around the corner. But it worked out extremely well. And I'm going to show you a kind of small world scenario here because I think you had Martin Kowalski here in the past. Martin's wife was one of the 3 people I was working with in our satellite branch. And Martin was working at GetResponse, or I just finished working, and his wife Ivona, who I'm eternally grateful for, said, Mick, you know, okay, it didn't work out here. There's a company called GetResponse down the road. They do something in English. So, you know, maybe you go see if they're hiring.
So there wasn't a job, it was just direction.
No job. They weren't hiring, and I emailed to the info at GetResponse. This was still 14 years ago. And I was like, hey, I'm living in Gdynia, this is my CV. And I was lucky enough to get an interview with Monica, who was the head of marketing, and Simon, the CEO, was a little bit involved, and I went for an interview.
So from that email actually came meetings?
Came an interview, yeah, exactly.
But you were proactive?
I was proactive, so I kind of initiated it. And what was ironic, I think, is, and I still stand to this day, that I truly believe they hired me because I was a native speaker. Not so much for my skill set. And just because 14 years ago, there was not so many. I was the first non-Polish person in GetResponse. So I think that they just saw this as, we're going to use this guy somewhere. He's got language skills. We are selling to America.
He's locally here.
He's here. He's on Polish kind of salary levels as well. So we're not going to pay crazy money for him. And I joined the company. I saw it as I felt like, suddenly this kind of non-career path, I was like, oh, I like it here. It works. It's a nice place for me. I started in marketing just as some of the social media things were coming out. So they gave me Facebook pages to manage and Twitter accounts.
In English?
In English, exactly. And then after about 9 months, I said to Simon, you don't have a sales team here at all, right? And he was like, no. And I was like, how are you handling these like enterprise level accounts? So they come in, we email them. I was like, can I try? I've done this in England. I've done a lot of selling really terrible products, and this is quite good. And just purely that was a fantastic thing for me. And I spent 5 years selling that product.
But it was proactive again.
Yes, and I think that that's one of the things that I got. Again, my history or my experience with a lot of Polish people is they are extremely humble and they're extremely thankful for what they have. And I was this random English guy going, I'll do that. Give me this opportunity. Give me that opportunity.
What can happen?
And it worked. And suddenly in England, being a native speaker means zero. Everybody's a native speaker. But somehow I got lucky that the thing that I thought was going to be my biggest pain living in Poland of not having Polish turned out to be like it made me unique. And I was able to kind of grab that uniqueness and use it to my advantage for a certain period of time. Now it's not so unique, of course. We're having more and more non-Polish people moving to Poland. But at the time, it turned out to make me unique, but valuable at the same time.
So how does SaaS business like GetResponse sell to enterprise customers? Because it's slightly different, yeah? Normally, you see a web page, this is the pricing for this, and then there is this box. If you enterprise, call us, yeah? That's it, yes?
Yes, exactly.
And what happens after that?
So GetResponse was a quite GetResponse for me for my first experience.
GetResponse is a mailing application.
Yes, exactly.
Simplifying.
At the time, it was just email marketing. Now it became automation, and email marketing is kind of, let's say, old school a little bit now. But at the time, yes, it was just sending lots of emails to customers and leads. And so at the time when I was there, we had this Contact Us, and GetResponse were very, very good already at attracting small and medium businesses. So that method just by default meant from time to time a big company came along or a medium-sized company came along, and they were handling them so on what we would define as inbound leads. So I started handling those inbound leads, and at the time the sales process was not so complicated. We were talking about what I would call as like early stage users. So they were the early adopters. So they already knew the benefits of email marketing. So we just had to make sure that we were the tool. The sales process would last somewhere between 3 to 4 weeks.
That's fast.
Yeah, in SaaS it's great. At enterprise level, 3 to 4 weeks done remotely. Me being sat in an office in Gdynia in a converted garage at the time, even though GetResponse was a really successful company. And then eventually, as those leads started to be very sporadic and very inbound in general for SaaS is very unpredictable, we started to look at it and say, okay, well, how can we take a little bit more control? And one of the key methods we did at GetResponse was trade shows, going out to the networking. So
physical sales.
Yes, and
not email marketing, but actually meeting customers.
Yes, exactly. So we had upsell, by the way, as well, which was also very useful, where someone became too big for the small platform and they move up. But this is where we kind of came to this thing, and a lot of SaaS companies in Poland that 14, 13 years ago had that decision where a company was either moving or hiring someone locally in America, or they had someone like me that they would be like, you know what, even if we fly you to America once a month for a conference or once every 2 months,
it's cheaper.
It's still much cheaper. It's still much cheaper. And there was also a lot of other benefits, because I think, you know, I've seen a lot of companies hire that first employee in the US. And that's a really hard thing to do, because they're not in the culture, they're not in the daily routine of the business. They can feel quite abstract. So I ended up flying to America a bunch, meeting a lot of people in the industry, building those relationships. Then as that part of the business grew, Simon was smart enough to make it a little bit of its own entity. So it became GetResponse Enterprise, which today is GetResponse Max. So now it has its own marketing team, its own lead generation. But then at the time, it was just me going out, meeting the people, and because my cost for the GetResponse was low, there wasn't a huge expectation for that part of the business to grow. I think from Simon's perspective as CEO was like, oh, this guy wants to do it, and he's making more money than he cost me. It's okay. It was never, the enterprise part of the business model was never like the big emphasis.
And what happened that it became?
I think the potential and the revenue growing a little bit more. I would still say even to this day, it's very unique for a company to be able to attract SMBs and enterprises. One of the things when I'm talking to startups mostly is telling them to pick one and let one go. GetResponse was such an early stage tech company that they really are so embedded in SMB. They can still play with enterprise and not confuse the market, confuse the communication. And yeah, it just kept growing with revenue. The companies kept getting bigger. The brands got better. I mean, they just announced last week. I've not been there for 9 years, so it's nothing to do with me now. They just signed Red Bull internationally for marketing automation. So I think as the market showed, hey, listen, you're a pretty good tool. We like you. More salespeople, more marketers, more account managers, and so the story goes. So I think it was just the opportunity. And GetResponse is obviously a bootstrap company. So that was why I said, like, it was still for me not really a full window into startup tech world in Poland, because GetResponse is very unique. I think it was founded in the early 90s or late 90s. It didn't have any investors. They didn't grow based on kind of the buzz around the company. Simon is not well known for speaking at events and so on. So GetResponse was almost like its own little bubble. So it was a great learning experience, but
it's not a typical startup. Yes,
you can imagine the
with
jump
Fruit
from
Thursdays and so on. Yeah,
from GetResponse to Brand24 was just like for me, it was like changing continent in a way.
So why did you switch?
Oh, it's a good question. So again, another stroke of luck from my perspective was I changed because of Michał Sadowski, basically.
Okay.
Again, as I said, even though I'd been working at GetResponse 4 or 5 years, we were never focused on the Polish system, on the Polish ecosystem. So I wasn't going to conferences. I wasn't following the local media. So I started to see some of the things that Michał was doing with Brand24, and I was like, that looks good. I like that vibe. And I always tell the story that basically I never touched the product on my first day employed with Brand24. It wasn't about the product, it was about the people. But my time had come to I'd outgrown my role at GetResponse for a number of reasons, let's say. I think even now to this day, I know that my skill set in a company is probably that kind of first 1,000 customers. I think that's my area, and I learned that the hard way.
So if you
probably
would read the bleed scaling, it's the beginning, yeah.
Yes, exactly. I've watched a lot of content about this where it's a common practice that you have people in your company that you hire to grow your business, and then you have people that you hire to scale and perfect
and then
what's been grown.
And then you have people to maintain. Yeah?
Exactly, and I'm really bad at the last one. I'm really bad at the last one. Some companies need it. It's just
boring.
It's not.
For me, it's boring. For you too. For some people, it's a great business. Yeah, it's stable. It's big.
So yeah, but basically I was also at that moment in time, and where it wasn't about salary. It was about the fact that I needed to test myself a little bit more. The career change was me going from being like just in my being the successful salesperson, a little bit of a sales manager in GetResponse, and then finding out that Brand24 said, well, you could also run customer support. Maybe you want to branch out and test yourself a little bit more. But the story how I moved to Brand24 is very lucky, even very lucky. There's a very good friend of mine, Bartek, who had a company called Quantum Labs. And that was at the time when I was starting to do a little bit of consulting, a little bit of advisory, and I was talking to Bartek and talking about how he could do sales, and he knew Michał Sadowski. And Bartek eventually said, do you want to work here? And I wasn't sure. It was very high tech, which is not normally my wheelhouse. And I wrote to Michał, and I'd only met him once or twice, and I said, Michał, do you think I should take the job with Bartek? You know him better than me. What's your advice? And Michał had literally just said, well, Mick, I'm glad you told me, because I was really hoping you'd work for Brand24, but I don't have a budget for you right now. I wasn't planning to hire you. This is like out of the ordinary. And I said, okay.
But he was aware of you.
He was aware of me. I wasn't aware that he wanted to hire me, or he even thought my advice was helpful. But he was like, if now I know you're looking for a job, do you want to chat? And I took a 40% pay cut to move to Brand24. And that was...
You took less money to change the job?
Yes.
That's not a typical choice in Poland.
Definitely not a typical choice anywhere, I think, most people.
But did you get compensated in stocks or anything like this?
Not at the time. It was a complete leap of faith. My wife, we were partners, and it was before we got married. She was super supportive. She said, go try. Go try it.
So it was okay that you were earning less money and just try it, yeah?
It was okay for a very specific period of time. So what I mean is, Michał had always said, like, let's see what we can work out, like get your feet under the table, let's see what value we can find. And so I had this pay cut, and I remember thinking to myself and my wife saying that I could probably do this for 3 or 4 months, and then we're going to be in trouble, to be honest. Then I have to go see if I made a mistake, crawl back to GetResponse or whatever the story will be. And very luckily, just at that moment, I think it was the end of the 3.5 month period, and I sat down with Michał and I said, buddy, like, I love working here, but the number is the number. And he said, you know what? I talked to the investors. We can get you back to where you were. Like, you've shown us for 3 months there's potential. And then he said, obviously, yeah, we see you as being as part of a shareholder in the future as well, etc. So I was like, thank goodness, because I was at my edge. But it worked. I mean, it worked. I mean, I got lucky in the whole story, but that was that moment in a career where I think a few people go through this, where it's not only about salary. It's also about I need to test myself. I need to see what I'm good at. I need to remove some restrictions, some ceilings, and so on, and see what happens. And also, it's always good when you see someone on the market and you're like, I really would like to see how I work with that guy. Like, he just genuinely was attractive to me. And yeah, that's why I made the change.
What's the difference between a VC-funded company and a bootstrap-funded company? Because you went from software as a service, marketing tool, slightly different, but it's a marketing tool. Sure. Same business.
Sure.
Totally different cultures, totally different company, probably.
Absolutely. Pros and cons of both
sides.
And
also different founders, different personalities.
Yes, yes. So I mean, I think that the first one is like, the original thing that kind of struck me was that GetResponse was 100% owned by one person. So Simon had built himself that freedom to decide what's good, what's bad, what he likes, what he doesn't like, if the website should be blue or green, if 1 month we earned, I could say, for example, like if I missed a target 1 month in sales, I had a talk with Simon and we decided if it was realistic that I missed it or there was a problem, and he got to decide if it was okay or not. And that was great for my development. Simon played a huge part in my, Simon, CEO of GetResponse, played a huge part in my career. And I joined Brand24, and for the first time in my entire life, I experienced the world of investors. So where I worked for Michał, and Michał treated me like a partner.
Breathing on your neck,
yeah.
as a sales.
And then I realized that Michał works for the investors. And I've never experienced that before. Now, there is a huge positive to that because they drive you. They again, if Simon at GetResponse decided that we could have a few months flat, that's how it was. If he was happy with people working hard but we weren't hitting the results, it was his choice. And the 6 years at Brand24 were just non-stop 150 miles an hour because there was always someone that wanted you to achieve more or hit your goal, and so. But on the other hand, it was a huge positive because they really first of all, they make you work and look at things and try to improve various different things. But also, you've got 6, 7 minds at the table and not one CEO of a bootstrap company who gets to say yes, no, right or wrong. Even though majority of the time Simon was right, that's why he's got a very successful business, but. You know, sometimes I would have an idea, Michał might be like, oh, I like this idea, it's great, let's think about it. And then 3 investors would be like, I think there's a hole in that idea here and here. And then you would stop. And that I appreciate.
And was there a hole?
Oh, for sure. Sometimes, I mean, again, like it was really, I really appreciated the insight, even though you have to have strong shoulders to take it. I think that, you know, there was a certain point in my career where I had investor phobia, where I was like, okay, we have to tell the investors, like, this wasn't perfect, or you've got 6 things going well, but 2 things not, and they will talk to you about the 2 things, which is what they're supposed to do. But it was a huge culture shift for me. From GetResponse, that was, you know, profitable, probably really nice cash reserves, rainy days, all that kind of thing, to being in a VC-funded company working on a runway of this is how much money we have, then we might have to go borrow a little bit of money.
But when you're driving 150 miles an hour, you're burning more fuel, yeah?
Exactly, yeah. So and you have bigger expectations and so on. And again, it probably fitted my skill set a little bit better because of this problem-solving creativity mode was more in a VC environment, let's say. But yeah, like totally different experience. And still to this day, I can see the differences in Bootstrap versus VC. But I think GetResponse versus Brand24 was probably the 2 extremes, because GetResponse was a highly valuable bootstrap with single owner, because still some bootstraps are shared between 2 or 3 people. And Brand24 being literally the shining star in Poland, not only being observed by investors, but the ecosystem was looking to Brand24, looking to Michał for advice.
But it's also Michał's personality, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. And he built a fantastic brand around doing that. But it was the 2 polar opposites of extremes, because you've got some really nice bootstraps companies in Poland who are very integrated into the Polish ecosystem. I would say at the time, GetResponse, they didn't even have a Polish version of the product or the website. They were an American kind of company based in Poland. So it was polar opposites in some respects.
What have you learned working for Polish startups in those 15 years? You're in the 3rd one now.
Yes.
What have you learned about actually the ecosystem, the startup business, and so on?
I mean, yeah, it's a great question. I think, timing-wise, I think if I could pick any like 10-year period of being in Poland and being lucky enough to be, the last 10 years have just been hyperspeed, in my opinion. I mean, the thing that I'm probably in, obviously we have this abundance of technology, technical people coming up with ideas, building technological products. So Poland is moving very fast, which I like. It's gaining confidence, I like. I think there is a reason why we still don't have those international tech well-known companies yet.
What is the reason?
So I think that for a lot of the founders I meet, they don't found companies aiming to be a unicorn. I think the success expectation isn't that high, and I think that has pros and cons. By the way, we don't burn through companies every 5 minutes here as well, like we do in the US, for example. But also that level of confidence that I talk about this still to this day. Of there is a nice new AI startup that's founded now by two guys here in Poland, and they asked me some advice about it. Should I start in Poland or should I start internationally? And a lot of us say let's start in Poland because we see it as our baby steps, which is true, but then we stay and we get pulled in, and it's a little bit like quicksand a little bit.
I call it middle market trap.
Yeah.
You can have good enough business that pays good money for you as a founder and so on and so on. And that's the problem with Poland. It's
yes.
If it was Baltics or Czechia or Slovakia, then you have to be global immediately. And in Poland, you can do business.
It's
for
just
Poland,
big enough, right? And that's the thing. And I think, I met two founders from one from Israel, one from Estonia, who said the same thing. We don't start businesses thinking local because it's never going to be enough. Yeah. So we start international, and
in Poland can be local. Yeah.
And we have the success stories. Yeah.
And the US can be local, but the local is huge. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's a challenge that we have. That's a challenge that we have, that we do that. And I also think a little bit we are Polish market still a little bit too afraid of failing. I think this is a challenge. And I tell the quick story of I did some mentoring on a startup program once, and there was one gentleman that was a single founder starting, and he was trying his best. And I was in a Levia business center in Gdańsk, and I saw him walking down the street, and I wanted to catch him. And this is about 3-4 months later, I wanted to catch him and see him, and I was almost sure he saw me and walk away. And I was like, that's a bit strange. Maybe I offended him or something. And then 3 or 4 months later, I kind of bump into him again, and he can't escape me at that point. And I'm like, oh, how is it going? How's the startup? And he was like, I had to take a job. The startup didn't work. I couldn't pay the bills. And I was like, there's nothing to be ashamed
it's normal.
of. Like I said, in America, founders wear those failures like a badge of honor. This is my third startup. One I raised $1 million and I crashed. The next one 5, and even investors in America are feeling a bit more comfortable with people who have failed. Mm-hmm. But there's some Polish founders who wear it it weighs on them. And I was trying to say don't be afraid. It's okay. So I think these are all things. But what's nice is that we are having those people that are leading the way. I see companies in Poland like Zoe, like TDO, like Doc Planner, etc., who are raising money internationally, going and pushing through that.
It's changing.
Boundary. Yeah,
changing.
It's changing. And I think we miss a little bit of this. I always use probably a terrible example, which is this. You have this kind of PayPal alumni. And I don't know if you've ever seen this branch tree where it's the founders of PayPal then founded 5 companies, invested in 25, and money is in the ecosystem.
Just Elon Musk or Peter Thiel. There's much more.
There's more, and I think that in Poland we are going to get that eventually.
Well, that's probably a decade or 2 away. Yeah.
It is. Because again, because the successful business people in Poland are raising not that amount of wealth that they can spread it everywhere, but it's first family, then.
But I happen to be in investments with some of the founders that you've mentioned,
yeah.
That not in their companies, but together with them in other businesses.
Yeah.
It's starting. It's building. Yeah.
Yes.
It's a snowball.
So I see, I think Victor from NetGuru is quite a strong investor at base level. I see the gentleman like Tomek Karvatka and Piotr there started, and
they started their own accelerator. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's coming. That's what we need. People who have done it, then doing it again and adding that advice. So we may be, like you said, maybe 10 years away, or one company in Poland like a Buxi that really suddenly has a new exit or IPO, and Stefan and the investors then go after it. But I think we have a lot of, or we have, I think maybe Poland, we might even suffer at some point from 25, 30 year founders that stay, and they don't exit and do the next one and do the next one, and they keep, and I think maybe that's something that might happen progressively as well, that they exit and moved on because again I think I'm wondering if there will be a day that Brand24 doesn't have Michał Sadowski, or Booksy doesn't have Stefan because of exits or acquisitions.
That happened already. Allegro doesn't have original founders.
That's true.
Yes.
Yes. So we need that money to keep filtering into the system, and but we are close. We are close. I think as an ecosystem, the signs are positive. Just we need to I want people to just be more confident to fail, and etc. So.
What is about SaaS businesses that it takes so long for them to develop? And you said you have components for the first 1,000 customers and so on and so on. Many of our listeners are actually investors and they're looking for this. I love investing in SaaS businesses, but you need to be extremely patient in them, yeah?
Yes. I mean, I think the first thing is that very quickly you end up kind of spinning a lot of plates at the same time. So what I mean is, like, there are in a kind of one-time revenue business, you're selling a physical product. Your goal is to sell as many as possible and keep getting new businesses. In SaaS, one of the things that takes time is, as soon as you've got your new business in, you've got to make sure they don't leave. Yeah, we've got a lot of SaaS businesses that have great registration and sign up and initial revenue, and then 3 months later, customers are churning out. So, and of course, I think the key to investing, or the key for the longevity of SaaS businesses, you've got to look at both of those funnels, and they've got to be working simultaneously at the same time.
So it's acquiring new customers and maintaining and keeping, or even making them upgrade existing customers.
Yeah, so this nice new...
This is the smiled cohorts, that you get,
Yeah, exactly. This nice new number that's been thrown around, especially in the last couple of years, which is this net recurring revenue, that not only you keep your customers, but you grow them, and you grow them more than you lose.
So not monthly recurring revenue, but net recurring revenue.
Yeah, exactly. So what and ironically, where I join now, because I'm in the HR space, this is actually a good metric for us, because changing tool is quite challenging. That's another thing why SaaS pays off in the long term, because people are constantly buying into you more and more, and using your tool more, and investing more of that, connecting you more with their business.
They have a skill set, and the tool is integrated into business. Yeah?
Exactly. So not only is it a case of this tool is slightly less pleasing than it was a year ago. However, look at all the way that it's integrated. Salesforce is a prime example. I mean, I've met people. I also have SaaS tools right now that I don't have a liking for.
But they're useful.
But I stay with them because they work, they are integrated, and they bring value, and the risk of not having it is too high. That's why SaaS takes time, and a lot of early founders, a lot of that first 2-3 years is improving one side and then seeing the other side slightly go down, and then jumping over here, fixing that one, and that one goes down. And the sweet spot for a business is when you can keep track of both. And that's a challenge, of course, because it's constantly changing. I remember, and at Brand24, you'd be sat there, and one day you'd get a client from the Philippines that you had no plan of getting, because the product is a SaaS. Most of the time you can buy it yourself, and then adapting to that and seeing that. So it's constantly evolving as well, and that's why you have to be patient. There are ups and downs, and we have those spikes in metrics that sometimes are very predictable, and sometimes you have no idea why they happened.
Question to you: why Polish founders or managers should be hiring foreigners in Poland or to Poland, in your opinion? Because we talked about it, that hiring the lonely guy in sales in Miami might not work that well on the beginning. Yeah.
Yep.
You were the first English speaker in at least 2 companies. Yeah. If not 3.
3.
Yes. Coming in, and a first native speaker who doesn't speak very well Polish. We proved it already.
We did, unfortunately.
I'm a founder. Tell me why I should now, today, start looking for people to work for me, but in Poland, not necessarily remotely.
Jeśli chcesz dotrzeć do przedsiębiorców, ludzi takich jak ty, zareklamować się w audycji Zaprojektuj swoje życie, napisz na adres partner@zsz.media. Zapraszam do współpracy.
No, I mean, first of all, the main reason is because we actually have a void of talent in Poland just now at at that skill set. So just even to increase your
Polish people.
Yeah, we have more tech than we have people who can sell it, unfortunately, right now. But it's improving.
But there's plenty of Ukrainian talent that came over.
Yes,
that helps.
That does help. Maybe it's not always again. Sometimes it's weighed in that technological environment, developers and so on. Not so much sales and marketers.
Okay.
Again, I think Eastern Europe probably all has similarities in this challenge. But one of the biggest things I would say is that I think you should buy in this diversity in thought process and experience and change it. Like I said, one of the things that I think I don't really bring that many technical talents to a company when I join it, but I do try my best to bring this idea of optimism and enthusiasm. Like, let's go do it. We can do this. Let's do it.
So it's a culture skill, not a technical skill.
And I think that, again, if we are talking about, like, I'm not pretending to be an expert on this, but if we talk about, like I said, I think Poland sometimes suffers from a little bit of thinking about worst case scenario. You can, if you've got 5 people from the same cultural heritage, same background, even extremely talented, all in different skill sets, if they all have that underlying culture that they're like, yeah, maybe that's a bad idea, maybe it's not, maybe we're going to look silly this time if we do it, maybe we're going to lose the money, let's not do it. Even if you have them from 5 different parts of skill sets, IT, accounting, whatever it may be, I like the concept of bringing in the different cultural backgrounds, just because you might bring something to the table. So I think that's a benefit. Again, I think if you talk to Simon, Michał, or my current CEO, Adrian, one of the biggest things I do is I come in every day and I'm like, we can win, we can do this. And
so you have the can-do attitude.
I haven't, because luckily for me, UK doesn't really have that history of like, you know, being suppressed or having to, and I think it's cool. I spent a lot of time in the last 5 years.
Except the Vikings, there was not many successful invasions.
Yeah, exactly. And we are a lot of UK mannerisms are borderline arrogant. Don't be wrong. I think there's a big line between being, you know, trying to be enthusiastic and being arrogant. But yeah, we are not brought up thinking that we will do something wrong or we will lose. And I still see that we are in Poland. I think we are a generation away from that being gone as well. I think my children are growing up, and my children with Polish parents are growing up not worrying about the worst case scenario, but I see our generation's parents still telling us to prepare for the worst. My wife's parents and so on are talking about, like... And
recent events are not helping in feeling... No. You know, secure and safe and developing.
Yeah, so I think like, yeah, there is a skill set out there, and you can go out there and access somebody who's got experience selling somewhere else and so on. But I do think that there is an underlying value of you are bringing in a different potential level of optimism or culture. So it won't always work, of course, and things, but I think that helps as well. And right now in Poland, we don't have enough skilled people in that mid-level range of, yes, I can start your sales program, I can start your marketing internationally, versus the number of great companies that are being built by founders. So that's why so many founders right now are filling that role for their own companies.
Yet they can start looking for people. And then I'll reverse the question. Why is Poland attractive to move in for young specialists from, let's say, Europe, to make it simpler? Yeah,
sure.
Wider.
So on a cultural level, I'm not sure I can say that it is 100%. And what I mean by that is it's not well marketed. I still think we have to get over some stereotypes. But in terms of professional career, I think it's fantastic because, again, let's be honest, that if I worked in the...
Your career is probably much more stellar than it would be in Manchester or even London, yeah?
Absolutely, absolutely. We will never know, but I still have a strong belief that I have a better salary, better lifestyle, better career pathway.
Better salary, absolute salary?
Yeah, for sure.
So after 15 years, you're probably making more money.
Not
in adjusted income, but in a real income. Yeah?
Pound is what I mean. Yeah, like on exchange rate, I earn more than I would earn in the UK if I lived in the UK.
Okay.
Because again, I got very lucky that I was the uniqueness of my experience and
you
nationality.
Took 3 express trains. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I also was very lucky that I experienced companies where suddenly we're talking about things like equity and things like that, which I don't think I would be on that train in the UK. I think I would have been, maybe I would get to a certain level of sales, etc. But no, I earn more, I have better here, and that uniqueness, again, I could say to someone in England that if you are right now in a team of 1 of 50 people, if you come to Poland, you'll be in a team of 1 of 1, and that if you do it good enough, that means that your value becomes higher because you're harder to replace, you know, and you have more value to the company. So that is the. And obviously, if you look at, I mean, again, I'm not an economist, but I think Poland is continuing this pathway right now. It's growing faster and faster. So it's an extremely good time to be here. The salaries are no longer shockingly compared to Germany or the UK. They are catching up, and companies are opening their wallets a little bit more for the right people. They need the right people. So no, I mean, I could highly recommend. And I think that the other thing as well, there's a very good reason why I don't speak Polish very well. I've never really had to. I've been very lucky that I joined a moment in Polish development as a culture where I was shocked that my son is 5, and at 1 year old they were doing English lessons, and I was like, wow, like, you know, who isn't really going to have some understanding of English in the next 5 years in Poland?
Almost everybody now speaks.
Exactly.
From a certain generation.
So yeah? I got certainly very lucky at that moment as well, because again, like the country is moving towards me almost rather than me moving towards it. So those even cultural fears are not there anymore. They don't exist in the major cities, especially, like you can live there.
I'll ask you to do an elevator pitch.
Okay.
You in a pub in Manchester.
Yeah.
Or in bistro in Paris.
Yeah.
Or in a guest house in Berlin, whatever you choose, yeah? And having a good beer, in Paris is probably wine, with a friend. Tell me, why should I move to Poland right now? Okay. As I'm very comfortable in my city somewhere in Europe.
I would say like the best reason to move to Poland is because right now, if you're excited by having a blank piece of paper, and what I mean by that is that the Polish ecosystem needs your skill set right now, but it also needs you to, I wonder if you're excited about someone saying like, here's the keys to the castle. Will you build it for me? You're not joining you probably have a great job, but in a company that already knows the model. If you come to Poland, it's an amazing feeling to know that you are needed in the ecosystem. Plus what we are talking about now is that you are creating a value that you could potentially earn more than you do right now here in Paris, drinking our glass of wine. Yet also the cost of living, even though it's rising, you can get fantastic lifestyle. I mean, my lifestyle versus cost of living versus career opportunities here are easily 10 times better than they would be in the UK. By
10 times?
10 times, by far, because again, the thing that even if I do have things that differentiate me in the UK market, it's even hard to show them. It's hard to make them stand out. Here, my surname gets me in the door, you know, and that's as crazy as it sounds. And for now, yes, it is a little bit like you're getting an easy ride, and then you've got to back it up by actually doing it. But like, how many of those doors have been closed into French people in France, English people in the UK, because they're like, how are you any different? And you have to really prove
You're one of many.
I'm one of many. And
then I ask you one more question.
Of course.
As sitting in that bistro in Paris,
sure.
How do I start now in 2023?
Sure. So the great thing about the Polish ecosystem is that I don't really know a Polish founder that is not possible to get access to and talk to. They want to learn, so they want to know people. So the first thing I would recommend is I will pick an event for you to come and talk to people. And what you'll find is there'll be a lot of founders there, a lot of important people there. And I have no doubts that you'd walk away with 5 contacts that might be interested in you helping them in their company. Because in London, founders are not helping founders. They are looking after themselves. They don't have this camaraderie, this urge to help each other. Poland is that ecosystem where they want to help each other. They talk. They're easy to access. So the first thing I would say is, and also look at the tech companies in Poland that you look at from the outside and go, they're not doing that. They're not doing. I can do that for them. You can even almost spot from the outside what they are missing and then
that's the value.
Yeah, I've had my last 2 career changes. There was no open position. I moved to Brand 24 by saying, I think I can do this for you. Do you want to do it? And I moved to Traffit by saying, I think I can do this for you. Do you want to do it? And, you know, so they are open to the opportunities, and that's it. So I come and talk to the founders, look at the businesses and be confident about what you can deliver. And I think that the need is so much in Poland right now that those founders are going to take meetings, have phone calls, talk to you about it, free up budget to make it work for you. So take the first step, and then they will take the next 5 with you. Just be confident enough to take the first step with them.
You got me.
What do you think?
I'm applying. No, but that's true. It's a little bit like if you're working in a large corporation, it's comfortable, but your job is very narrow. If you take a risk in a startup, which Poland in a way is a well-established startup by now. It's still growing very fast, but life is much more comfortable. I moved back to Poland in 1998. This was a garage.
Yes, I missed those 10 years, and I still remember the changes. So I can only imagine. I can only imagine.
This was it was huge changes, and I remember 2012 when I actually felt that the tipping point happened. Because I came in 2009, and I always put it down to ironically, I put it down to the football tournament. Same here.
Yeah, they built the infrastructure, they built the highways, they needed to connect those cities together, and the change was just overnight. Like,
I think the change was slightly different. A lot of Europeans came to see the games.
That's true.
And they realized, wow, this is Poland. I remember coming back from Kazakhstan through Munich or Frankfurt, and every time I came through on the border, it was a Schengen border, and they were like looking at my passport always, Polish and so on. And it was the first time I gave my passport, and the gendarmerie German guy says, "Welcome home, Herr Filipkowski." And I was like, wow. I was like, something happened.
So I still remember. I still remember when I was moving to Poland, and one of my colleagues was moving to Australia. We had a joint leaving party, and everyone was like, "Australia, wow, Poland, why? Like why?" And I still
why?
And I remember my father kind of saying my parents. I was like, I've been lucky enough that they are still with us, and they love Poland. They fall in love with Three City. Like, I mean, and I get it. It's amazing. I mean, you compare the beaches to some of the beaches around Europe, etc. But my dad summed it up for me very well in the first couple of times he came, and he was like, "I'm shocked," and I was like, "I was shocked as well." But tell me why. He said, "It's not because I had some preconception that Poland was like visually terrible or anything." But he said, "We just think that a lot of people leave."
Because a lot of people came to UK.
So if everyone's leaving, the preconception was that something's bad. Something's bad. They're leaving something. And I said, no, but what you have to understand is, again, it comes back to that work ethic. A lot of people I know who came to UK came to better themselves, learn more, practice the language. Okay, many stayed on. Now we are seeing this great influx of people coming back to Poland.
Polish people from UK moving back?
Moving back, exactly. This is what we need as well. I mean, we genuinely need that. Like, they spent sometimes 10 years in the UK ecosystem, and now they're like, oh, actually, Bydgoszcz looks quite good right now because of the cost of living, and I can come and still have a good, well-paying job, and someone's going to value that kind of thing. So that's I hope that Poland will do huge campaigns around achieving this goal. By the way, like, I still think Poland is not doing a great job at advertising itself outside of Poland. Like, I love being here, but still to this day, I don't think any of my UK friends kind of know much about Poland other than Krakow is great for a weekend, etc. But my father said, we just thought everyone was leaving, and I was like, no, look,
they're here.
The people that are here, and this was, like I said, 15 years ago, and they also see the change. But no, I mean, the development is phenomenal, and I think that it is a very attractive place to live, a very attractive place to build a career, build a family, etc. I hope they don't burn my passport for this, but I've always said that I will never move back to the UK. As a comparison, Poland to the UK, I would never move back.
So if you look at your friends, Australia or UK, and your development and their development, because you said very interesting, you cannot A/B test your life, you don't know. But you can compare to your peer group.
Yeah.
What's the comparison?
Yes, so I mean, what I see is so whether or not it's my group of friends or whatever they may, but a lot of people have made progress on the salary ladder. And great respect, they've moved that, but mostly within larger corporations, larger ecosystems. So now there will be people who are sales managers, managing a team of 35, because still I think in the UK we have this concept of the more people under you, the more successful you are, which for me makes no difference now. But so you get a lot of people within that corporate ladder, and I don't have a single friend who's got equity in anything.
And you did.
And I did, and I've got 3 brothers who are all very successful people, and they are saying like, how did you do this equity thing? How does that work? And I was like, okay, so first of all, probably find a startup, etc. So
take a 40% pay cut.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like
no, but seriously,
move into a different sector. It's going to be more risky, more work, but you're going to do it. But I've got a lot of friends who, what they've got, which I've never experienced, and sometimes you miss, is they have the good standards. They fly business class. They have great hotels. They have Mercedes company cars. They went up that side of living and increasing
the comfort
living
side.
Yes, exactly. So good salaries, but in corporations normally they take care of you. Yeah, the stress level isn't so high in most cases, and they've progressed that way. But I think in my circle of friends, startups are almost unheard of. You get people that will move in, who create their own businesses, but in manufacturing or something like that. Very rare that it's a tech startup. That's also because I would say that there's not so many developers like this. I don't think that, I haven't checked it, but I'm sure that we have more people going through IT in university than we did before, but I still don't think it's anywhere in the proportions we have here in Poland, for example. And they've gone up that ladder, and I think that's great for them. That's really good, but that's why a lot of people in England still have this feeling that they are a number. They are a number in a big firm. They are a line of paper that when they decide to change the job, it will be replaced and so on. And I definitely tell them, like, it's a definitely different feeling when you're in a group, when you're in a company with 20 people. It's a different feeling of belonging, of pressure as well, of delivery. But and I don't think any of my friends really, they like they're like, wow, you're keynoting to 500 people. I've never even considered being a public speaker, or you have equity, that sort of. But I don't think any of them envy the workload. They like being part of the big system, and that's the way that they were brought up, and that's the thing that they're used to. So I don't think they envy being in a startup. They might envy the output of doing it.
But output is just a result of that work, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. And I still think that, they know, I feel like they're almost signing the document that they will work till the age of 70, and then they will retire, and then they have that. Like there's no, once you're in that system, it's very hard to get too much flexibility to jump out and do something completely different.
So how long will you work?
How long will I work? So I always had I say always, I think when I came to Poland and I finally had a career plan and I started to act like an adult a little bit, I always had a goal that I will, my plan was that to get to the age of 40 and be, this was maybe a little bit too ambitious, but I saw a big difference between having to work and choosing to work. And I had in my mind that at 40, I want to have built a structure that I can choose what I do next.
I did this at 46, so 40 might be, and the plan was 45, so I only missed it by 1 year.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I made this probably around 30.
Yeah, at 30 was 40. I moved the date. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought that 40 was like really old. Now I'm like 3 months from 40, so I see it differently.
And are you able to choose the work versus have to work? Or no, you said you said it differently. That.
Yeah, I wanted the option to choose what I wanted to do. I would say that it's premature because I've still got bigger. I haven't reached the ambitions of what I want to have. So I'm very lucky that I could probably choose what I do next. But I still have to work. I still have to work because I've got a little. The bar that I've got to isn't high enough. It was the bar that I set when I was 30, and it's not.
The bar moves up.
When I was 30, I was like, it would be great to have, like, for example, in all assets and equity and so on, it would be great to have like 1 million zlotys. Wow, that would be great.
Now £1 million is not enough, probably.
And now, I got to like 36, 37.
Kids and so on. That also changes the expense scenario. Yeah?
Exactly. And I got there and I was like, you know what, that's a low bar. So let's keep going. We haven't peaked yet. We don't need to stop. So So still, I can say that I love what I do, so I don't feel that pressure like I have to find a job. But I'm definitely not at a stage where I'd like to say like, okay, I'm done. I'll go do a little bit of consulting or something like that.
Then I'll do the second part of the question. If you don't have to work financially, will you still work?
Yes. I can probably be very definitive about this question because I went on a journey lately for probably around 2 years. Last 2 years, I had a huge personal problem that I couldn't find a hobby, and I was really this was really tough for me. And I was
I know that
I
feeling.
really don't feel good that I don't know what I want to do with my free time and things like that. And I found that when I did free up this free time, all I was coming up with was little business ideas, and I was being pulled back into business. Hobby. So for now, it's my hobby. I don't know if I'm happy with it. I don't know, but I'm because of preconception that you should have some release. But I keep getting pulled back into business, and I keep getting. I had a haircut 2 weeks ago, and I was giving my hairdresser was the owner of the salon, and I was giving her advice on how to increase her revenue for an hour while she cut my hair. And I was like, oh, you've got products, like, do you sell them to people? She was like, yeah, we sell them to all the customers. I was like, I've been here 8 times, no one's ever pitched me a product. Oh, okay. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, this poor lady didn't ask for my advice for an hour. But so I think that, I wouldn't be able to cut out because now I see that I'm not there yet. Maybe it will happen in the future. I genuinely know that I wanted to find like a physical activity. I used to weigh 74 kilos. Now I weigh like 104 kilos. And I blame it on the work because it's a nice, easy option. But fundamentally what I know is I'd love my free time to contribute to having a better standard of health and so on. And while it keeps getting pulled back to business, I'm like, I don't really need any more time on a laptop sat down. I have enough of this. This is not good for me physically. But my brain keeps pulling me back to business ideas and so on, and that's where I am. So I think, I wouldn't, if I had enough money, I don't think I would switch off from business. I might do it differently, but I definitely would still be doing something professionally, for sure.
Mike, you listen sometimes to my podcast, yeah?
The English ones especially,
yes.
And
at the end we have those hard questions.
My wife prepared me. She told me that
so
there are some
we are
great
at
questions.
This moment. You ready?
I hope so, yes.
You feel prepared? Okay.
Yeah.
What was your best decision? Can you describe the best decision in your life that you made?
Yes, I'm going to take that nice little moment. I saw some of your other guests do this, which was, of course, finding my wife. But let's put that as a personal. The best decision I've made outside of kind of finding a great partner is it was the job change to Brand 24.
Okay.
By far, to this moment in time, it was a big jump.
Even better than moving to Poland, probably.
Yes, because I want to say that moving to Poland was slightly an easy choice, because I was also like, I'm not doing anything here, so I wasn't doing anything purposefully. I was like, why not?
And changing the job?
Changing job, that was a big commitment, a big jump.
You were giving something up.
I was giving up some salary. We were taking a risk as a family. Mm-hmm. And I got very lucky that it worked out. So, from size of decision and outcome of decision, by far, it's the switch to Brand 24 put me on a different trajectory. So I got very lucky.
What gives you most satisfaction in life or joy?
I've probably got 2 answers. I'm going to cheat a little bit, but the first one is
cheating is allowed. So
the real answer is probably like I get huge satisfaction from seeing from getting praise from the market that we are doing the right things. I like doing things that have never been done before. So in my current company, I like doing, we did things like we shared our salaries transparently. I love transparent salaries. And getting that recognition from the market that, that's a really good idea. It strokes my ego, can't deny it, but it keeps me on that track that keep trying new things, keep doing it. So that gives me satisfaction that the ecosystem reacts well to what we are doing. From a personal level, for the last 2 years, travel is probably just about topping that, like visiting new places. This is this is my version of kind of meditating, I would say, or something like that. That's really, really amazing for my man. Now he's traveling and getting out in nature. I've never done this before, and I'm 39 years old. So
you've been working.
I've been working. I've been a little bit closed off to that kind of travel. Last year I went to Norway by myself, and I had neck ache when I got home because I was just like.
So maybe you have a hobby, you just didn't notice.
Yes, so in a couple of months I will go to Yellowstone in America and go extreme, by myself for a few days, and I'll see if it still ticks the boxes, but I hope it's my hobby. Wow.
I just came back from Greenland.
Really? So maybe I can get some tips from you because this...
It was cold.
Yeah. I'm worried about Yellowstone even in September, but this outside nature is giving me a new energy. I'm looking
amazing.
for those. I keep calling them power banks. I'm looking for those power banks I can plug myself into that make me wake up and go, yes. And for right now, being out in nature and a little bit of traveling is doing this for me.
Okay. Is there something you could stop doing that would enhance your life or get you developed better?
Yes, the very unscientific answer would be eating. I'm very aware. I have a personality where I know what I'm sacrificing to give me a return. And right now, I'm super open with, and this is not a secret. I talk about this a lot, which is that I am at a moment where I put my healthy well-being as a backseat. And I know that this needs to change, and we are on that journey. But yes, fundamentally, I'm on this journey to try and find how I can crack the healthy lifestyle with the business lifestyle. And some people do it fantastically. I'm very, very jealous of them and of some of the failings and some of the things I haven't worked out in my pathway right now. It's how to balance those two.
What's your superpower?
I knew this question was coming, and I still should have it. I don't have an answer prepped because I really didn't know.
When you came in, it was English native speaking, but there needs to be more in 2023. Yeah?
Yes, I think I have this ability to have a large amount of energy and creativity in very short periods of time. So what I mean is we can find a problem, and within probably 30 seconds, I'm actively looking for a solution and driving. And people call this idea. I still remember this thing that it was like. I know that cows move away from the storm, and I want to say there's a different animal that moves towards it, because the idea is that the faster you get there, the faster it passes by. This is what I do. I try to run towards the problem. I'm okay with that, and I think that's why I'm in this first 1,000 customers, because
so you're like this cavalry in the battle. Yes, you're going towards.
Yeah, I thrive under short-term pressure.
Okay.
I'm not great with the opposite side of everything's stable, let's just scale. I'm rubbish at this. But probably the thing why I'm unique in Poland is because I try to bring energy, confidence, like we can go beat this mentality to most problems.
A book that
changed my whole approach to my career.
Okay, that's a big one.
It's a big one. And there's a book called Delivering Happiness by Tony Hershey. And I'll tell you why I'm being so dramatic about this book, because
it's a wonderful book.
It's a great book about Zappos and the growth, and why it changed for me. For a large part of my early career, I was told I'm too nice. I wasn't great in conflict. I would always start things by giving first, and this is not kind of like some kind of me trying to give myself some kind of compliment, because again, a lot of people said you won't be able to be a manager, you won't be able to be a director because you're not cutthroat, you can't make choices. And then I read this book and I realized that there was a guy out there that built an entire business by just doing nice things unexpectedly, like taking care of his people, taking care of his customers. And it made me genuinely believe that I can go out and I can build a career not being this like hard manager that squeezes everybody, that you can just go and do the right thing, be yourself, and so on. And that book was the one thing that kind of, before I read that book, I was really believing a lot of this feedback that I'm not good at being like the bad guy, or I'm not good at being like I'm not saying that I'm nice all the time, but this was a feedback that I would get. So Delivering Happiness made me realize that you can just do the right thing, you can be generous, you don't have to put earning money at the top of the list every time you do that. And for some companies it works out. So it was a big one for me.
And it worked out for you.
I'm on the path to say if it's worked out, we will find out. But
it's working out.
It's given me. I'm happy with what I'm doing, and
okay.
yeah.
That's a wonderful thing to say.
I always say that I won't be the most successful business person. I won't. I leave money on the table in various situations,
but
both as a customer.
That's also okay, yeah.
But I'm happy with that because I want to wake up and I want to go to sleep and feel comfortable with what happened that day. So yeah.
Mike, what would be the thing or the thought that you would like the audience of this podcast to remember after this conversation?
To say, okay, so yes. So to the audience, knowing that the audience is majority in this great country of Poland, I think that what I would like to say for sure is that please be more confident in yourself, and please be. It's okay to mess up. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to make wrong decisions. And again, I'm probably not in a position that I've got enough experience to say that in a big way. But fundamentally, it's not as. I saw a quote lately from someone that said they talked to someone in their 90s, and what was their biggest regret? That of all the problems they worried about through their life, 90% of them never actually happened. Mm-hmm. We worry about things that before they happen, and this takes up so much of our energy, our confidence, and so on. So, my only thing would say is like take some risks. If you're comfortable in your job, but you know that it's not really where you are, please consider looking around. Most of the time it works out for the best. So don't think always worst case scenario, because as a whole ecosystem, the Polish business sector, we need more risk taking, in my opinion, my humble opinion.
So leave the bistro in Paris or the pub in Manchester and come to Poland.
You can always go back. That's the worst case scenario.
When I was moving from US, I had a big issue of doing it, and somebody told me, but you can come back in 6 months. And I was like, well, that's true. And that just kind of changed everything.
I met a couple once that had moved between the UK and Australia 6 times. So there is
back and forth.
Yes, and I think that they were not happy about it. But still, there is no rule. You don't have to move once. You don't have to move only once every 5 years. You can do what you want to do. It will be okay most of the time. Most of the time, things are savable and solvable. So yeah, take a risk. It will be okay.
It will be okay. I like it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you. Every Thursday at 4 o'clock, mostly in Polish, you can listen to Zaprojektuj swoje życie.
Zaprojektuj swoje życie.